Hello and welcome to Dad's Desk. This is Rusty. In this video, we're going to learn how to use decimal variables within a project. Now, a variable, by my definition that I like to use, is a memory location whose value can change during the run of the project. And we'll see how all this works. There's a number of different types of variables. You have string variables, integer variables, double, decimal. We're going to look at using a decimal variable or a number that can contain decimal positions. Now, as we start this, I'm going to come over here and just rename my form that I have not done so that we could have some problems later on. So I'll call it FRM main, and you will see that I've designed everything else. And yes, I want to rename all the files associated with my project here. There we go. So I have a button right here named btn submit with an ampersand submit. I have FRM main for my form. It is set to center screen for the start. I have two text boxes up here, one named txt purchase 1 and txt purchase 2. Then I have a label box that looks like a text box. I just changed the background and the border on it and the sizings to be LBL submit. So when they click on the submit button, we're going to take the two values that they have typed in here, convert them to decimals because by default they are viewed as text, and then we'll add them together to get our subtotal. This is for Paula Panda purchases. I needed a purchase project, so I thought, what's going to rhyme with it? So I came up with Paula Panda. Nothing major there. So let's go ahead and click on the submit button, get in here, and you can see I've already added the variable or my documentation. I'm going to create some global variables up here. I like to do global variables because then all of the objects on my project have access to them. If I were to create the variables in this instance within btn submit, only the submit button knows about the variables. Now, the process I really like to do is to create a module over here and store all of the variables within the module. Uh, that has a really great advantage if I have multiple forms. But for this one, we have a single form, and this is going to work out just fine. So right on this one, we'll do a little remark statement here and say variables. And I'm going to dimension or define my variables by saying dim. In Visual Basic, we do that. And then I'll give it a name, a prefix of DEC for decimal. We'll call this purchase 1 as decimal. There, oops, not debug, decimal. There we go. Now I could have said dimension DEC purchase 1 comma spacebar DEC purchase 2. I can put all my variables on one line as long as they're all the same type, but for this one I just want to do them separately just so you can see. We'll call this one dimension DEC purchase 2 as decimal, and then for the subtotal, dimension DEC subtotal as decimal. There we go. Very, very good. Then within my submit button, we'll just say something like uses the variables to perform a calculation for the subtotal. Yeah, it'll work just fine. I'm going to use a little with me statement on this one because I like to have the me dot txt or whatever. And what I'm going to do is now take whatever is in txt purchase 1 and store that into my variable DEC purchase 1. I'm not going to check for any errors in this example. We can do that later on. If somebody typed in the letter G or a T, we can't convert that to a number, and that would cause my project to fail. But we'll just go with the basic idea in this one that everybody will type in numbers only. We know in the real world that's not true, so we'll have to take that later on. But for this tutorial, we'll do this. There's three ways to convert a value into a variable, especially on decimals. We'll say DEC purchase 1 equals, and we'll say DC DEC for convert to decimal, parentheses, dot txt purchase 1 dot text, close parentheses. So we're going to convert that to a decimal. Another way, which is kind of more C# Java based, the two methods here is to say DEC purchase 1 equals convert dot to decimal, parentheses, dot txt purchase 1 dot text. Very, very good. Close parentheses. That's one way. Both of these do the same thing, so I would only do one and use the one that you're comfortable with. Or we could say DEC, purchase 1 equals decimal dot parse parentheses dot txt purchase one dot text. There we go. Like I say, any one of the three will work. In the real world, I would remark out a couple of these just to save a little processing time. Now let's do the purchase to. DEC purchase to, and get back there. DC purchase to equals, and I like to do CDEC simply because that's the one I've used for a long time. TXT purchase to dot text. There. Okay, so we've got our variables or our entries stored into our variables. Now let's just say on the next line here, we're going to that it performs the math. And on this one, we want to take DEC purchase 1 plus DEC purchase 2 and store that into DEC subtotal. So DEC subtotal equals DEC purchase 1 plus DEC purchase 2. Bingo. And then displays the results. Now there's a couple of ways to do this also. We will say .lbl subtotal, and the subtotal text is the prompt that I have, .text equals, and in Visual Basic I want this to display as currency with 2 decimal positions. So I can say format currency parentheses whatever is in DEC subtotal comma 2. That's the number of decimal positions, close parentheses. Or if I want to go more Java C# based, I can say .lbl subtotal .text equals DEC subtotal .to string, convert it to a string, parentheses, double quotes, C. C is for currency. The C can be uppercase or lowercase. If I just want numeric, I can do an upper or lowercase n. And by default, it is going to go to 2 decimal positions, so I don't have to specify a number. If I do C2, that means currency with 2 decimal positions, or I can just say C, and that's going to automatically view it as 2 decimal positions. Okay, now let's go ahead and click on start. This will cause an error because remember, way back at the beginning of this video, I changed the name. So it says there were build errors. Do you want to continue? No, I do not, because in this version of Visual Studio, we have to go up here. Even though I said yes, rename all the forms, click on my project name, right click, come down here to properties, and my startup form is not form 1. It is FRM main. There we go. Then I can close that, run it again, and let's type in a couple of decimal numbers as this gets going. There we go. All right, let's say $1.59 plus, and I could just tab or 1 to 2, but I'll click on that one, and then $2.45. Click on subtotal, and that equals $4.04, and there's the decimal or the dollar sign right there. If it goes over 1,000, let's say 1234.56 and 1234. Oops, sorry about that. 123. Or one. I'll get it in a minute. There we go. Do that number again. You will notice that now it does display it with the decimal or the comma in there. And if I had entered in more than 2 decimal positions, let's say I said 1234.567, you will notice that because I limited it to 2 decimal positions by default, it rounds up. 5 or greater will round up, 4 or less rounds down. Okay, so that's how we can do some very basic math and using variables. In the next tutorial, we'll start looking at doing some constants also, right? But as always, thanks for watching.